and welcome to the Django Brew podcast, our second episode. I'm your host, Sangeeta, and with me I have Adam. Adam, how excited are you that this is our second episode?
I didn't think we were going to make it.
Same.
This is very exciting.
This is a huge milestone for us.
It is. I think 3 podcast episodes, that's where we know we've made it, and I'm looking forward to sailing off into the sunset after
Yes. So today's episode is a really fun one that I'm super excited about. We're talking all about DjangoCon US 2023. We're going to be covering what we liked about DjangoCon, some of our favorite talks, tomatoes probably.
Probably tomatoes.
Probably, yep. And stay to the end because we're sharing some very important conference tips for beginners, or really anyone. So Adam, you've attended way more conferences than I have, so let's talk a little bit about conferences in general. Why should someone attend a tech conference?
Yeah, conferences are really useful to get a sense of the community, and you get a wide range of information all at once. So for example, at DjangoCon, you'll have talks about DevOps and tuning Postgres and front-end development with HTMX. So you get a lot of information, and you kind of like sit there and you download it all. You come out of the conference refreshed and sort of excited about all this new technology and all these new things that you've picked up. The other thing about an in-person conference for me is that I'm just way less distracted. I'm sitting there, I'm taking notes, and I don't have my phone buzzing all the time, and I can just learn from people who are experts in their field and really get, a lot of good information.
Conferences, for me, I think they make you feel part of the community, like you said. It makes you feel part of something bigger than yourself. And you see that there are people behind this. You get to meet a lot of people, even those people that you look up to in the community. And also, it does wonders for your self-confidence. I mean, for me, especially like dealing with imposter syndrome, going to a conference and being there among other devs, you definitely feel included and you feel supported because you're surrounded by devs just like you. So I love that.
Yeah, one of the things you realize is that everyone is there to learn, and everyone's at different levels depending on the technology. So some people are really expert in Postgres, but they know less about Python or vice versa. And everyone is supportive and trying to help each other out.
Yeah, and speaking of learning, conferences are just such a unique learning opportunity because most of the learning that we do as developers are behind a screen. So if you can go to a conference and learn from someone in person, I think that's just an amazing opportunity, and you should definitely take advantage of that. What I like about conferences also is that each talk is like a fun surprise. You never know what wisdom you're going to walk away with, and you never know what the speaker is going to talk about. So it's just so exciting every time. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, for sure.
So Adam, I have a question for you. This was my first conference. When was your first DjangoCon?
So I went to the 2019 DjangoCon in San Diego, and it was awesome. It was just like we were talking about. The community is so supportive, and I learned so much. I talked to some of the developers of Wagtail there, and
did you go to the beach there?
Yeah, of course. It's San Diego, so you have to go to the beach. You have to drive around. It's beautiful. It's sunny.
Awesome. Okay, so let's discuss some of the conference talks that we liked. I mean, all of the conference talks were amazing, and you should all definitely go watch the recordings on YouTube. But we're just going to pick out some of the ones that stuck out to us, and let's get into it. So the first talk that I want to shout out is called HTML Elevating Your Django Web Apps Experience with HTMX, Alpine.js, and Streaming HTML by Chris May.
There's a lot going on in that
There's
title.
a lot. There's a lot to unpack here. So HTMX is a current topic right now in the Django community, and I think it will definitely continue to be a huge topic. I think it seems like as a community, we've really adopted HTMX as an essential part of the Django stack. So that's really awesome. So yeah, I was super excited that there was a talk on HTMX. And I think there were probably several others.
At least a couple that mentioned it.
Right. So what I liked about this talk was that Chris gave some really great context on what spas are, why they became popular, and how to turn your traditional web app to feel more like a spa. Do you like spas, Adam?
Yeah, what I love about a spa is like you go there and you can get a massage, or sometimes they have like whirlpools, or
Yes.
I think maybe what you're talking about is not that sort of spa.
No.
What are you talking about?
I
I'm so
mean,
lost.
I am talking about a single page application. Duh.
Oh, of course. Yes, 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 of course.
Yeah.
Those spas are okay too, I guess.
Okay, so what I liked about this was Chris definitely prefaced this talk by saying we're not here to, or he's not here to bash spas. But on the other hand, we shouldn't get trapped into thinking that they're the only way that we can achieve a modern web app, which I think was such a good message. I mean, it's all about giving your users a better experience, but also making it enjoyable for you as a developer, to build something that you actually like working on. I love it when talks give you action items that you can take away and try yourself. So he showed us a couple different ways of doing that, which is achieving that spa-like feeling using Django's streaming HTTP response, which was available in Django 4.2, I think. And you can start sending content to your web page as it comes down. So it's a really great way to stream content. And you can also leverage server sent events with HTMX to listen to your server and then update parts of the page with your content. And he had a lot of really cool demos that I liked and examples to go along with the talk. So I feel like I learned a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best part was all the visual animations during the talk, and he kind of showed what someone would see for different approaches.
I think the animated GIFs were such a good idea because demos can be scary especially at a live talk.
Yeah, I am not live coding in front of a lot of people.
Exactly.
That fills me with dread. So.
Yeah. And then you can prepare like so much more examples with like if you have them readily available as a GIF or something. So I really like that. Yeah, so with the adoption of HTMX, we're really seeing the pendulum swing back to traditional web app development from, all these complicated spas. It's really showing us that we can still do things the traditional way, obviously with some modifications, but we can have the same outcome as a spa or better.
Yeah, it's all about optionality. You can have a heavier weight JavaScript framework if you need to, but this is just showing a couple different ways to do something lighter weight and without having to rewrite your whole application using APIs and JavaScript frameworks.
Yeah, because I feel like when you use a spa or when you're building a spa, it's like two applications that you're building, right? Like your app now becomes two apps.
Double the complexity.
I like one app. I like less complexity.
I want less code.
Yes. I think we all want less code. I don't want no code. I want some code, but less code.
Right. I still like code. Keep the code, but just not as much of it.
Yeah, and speaking of options, one of my favorite slides from Chris's talk was when he gave a shout out to some different tools and libraries like Livewire, Alpine.js, and then Django Unicorn. And Adam, like when that slide came on the screen, like what did you think of it?
Yeah, that was it was a very nice shout out. So if people don't know, I have a library of my own that sort of solves some of these same spa-like concerns called Django Unicorn. So it was really nice to see that on the screen. If anyone wants to try it out, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, I was so excited for that. So what is your next talk, Adam?
The first conference talk I would like to bring up is Swiss Army Django, Small Footprint ETL by Noah Kantrowitz. This is an example of a talk that I had preconceived notions of, like you had mentioned before, but it was completely different than what I was expecting. And this talk was all about building a personal Django project and how Noah used async features in Django to avoid building more code than necessary. It also meant he could run less services in production. In his case, he just had one server with Django and a Postgres database. Just overall, you have less operational complexity. This really spoke to my soul because I love the concept of using boring technology, especially for side projects, and keeping projects as simple as possible.
And there was even a famous article written on why you should be using boring technology. But yeah, boring technology means stability, which means less complexity, which means less headaches. I just love boring technology.
So speaking of boring technology, one of the key quotes from the talk that I really liked was, he said, "Embrace the monolith. It's fine, I promise," which kind of gets to that idea of let's reduce complexity, less moving parts. You don't need 12 microservices for your tiny side project. Unless you do, I don't know. Noah covers how to create background tasks without needing something like Celery or RabbitMQ running. He also covers things like data aggregations, DRF serializers for transforming data, and creating an audit trail for your data. And then right at the end, he started talking about GraphQL, and I was sitting on the edge of my seat. But then he ran out of time, and it's kind of a bummer because I really wanted to see what he was going to talk about next with the GraphQL stuff.
Yeah, I felt the same way because I was like, this talk is going so interesting. Like I was hanging on to every last word. So I definitely hope that he gets to continue this talk at the next DjangoCon.
Yeah, for sure. Or just an updated version of it.
Yeah,
I would like
yeah,
to watch it again with
I would.
new insights. And that was the thing about this talk for me is there was multiple times when I had that light bulb moment when he was talking about a solution and I was like, "Oh, I could use that for this other problem that I have." And it really highlighted a lot of the newer async features in Django. I don't know. I love hearing about people's personal projects where they kind of figured things out and want to share that with the world. So I just really enjoyed the talk.
I really like this talk because the ETL process that he talked about resembles kind of like a lot of side projects that I tend to do, which is like I get data from somewhere or I, use an API or scrape data and then transform it in some way and then do something with that data. So just hearing what he had to say about that and building a side project that goes against the norm, like, just a monolith versus microservices. That was really insightful and yeah, I really like this one.
Well, speaking of ETLs and data, I think you really enjoyed a Postgres talk, right?
I did, yes. So the other talk that I really liked is called Postgres Performance from Slow to Pro by Elizabeth Christensen. And I am not a database, SQL, or Postgres expert, so I found this talk really enlightening. So Elizabeth gave so many tips on how to optimize your Postgres database, whether you're using a managed database or hosting it yourself. There are so many configurations that you can mess around with to really maximize what you're getting out of Postgres. And Postgres by itself is really powerful, so which is why this talk was like going that extra step and really like going under the hood of Postgres. And so that's why I love this so much. So yeah, she gave some great tips. So definitely go watch the entire talk to hear all of them, but I'll just point out some of the tips that I like. So number one, keeping your Postgres versions up to date. Each version is so much more improved than the previous, so you can benefit a lot from just keeping updated with your Postgres versions. Number two, she gave a ton of SQL queries that you can run by yourself to find out and really diagnose things like how slow your queries are and what queries are resource heavy and so on. Number three, she had some Django specific suggestions like using select related and prefetch related to avoid those n+1 queries. Some other things like creating indexes for your data and being mindful of how you structure your data.
Yeah, this talk was so good because she is obviously an expert and she had so many tips and tricks to help you get the most out of your Postgres database. It was amazing.
Because as developers, we are so focused on writing our application code and we don't really think about our database as much. So I think it is useful to just know the capabilities that your database has and know how to fine tune your database. The best part of the talk was actually outside of the talk in the hallway when I got to chat a little bit with Elizabeth. And she gave me a crunchy data coloring book. And I love all the word puzzles and coloring pages. And I think coloring books might be the new rubber duckies, honestly. So what do you think, Adam? I know I gave you one. Do you use it?
Yes, it is how I relax after work is I color a little bit in my crunchy data coloring book. So it's great. And I still have my rubber duckies. They're still with me and they help me out and
Awesome.
I get to
Yeah.
talk to them when I'm debugging, but
Yes. The
it's
more
also
the
good to
merrier.
That's right. We all color together. One other conference talk I wanted to bring up real quick is Don't Buy the AI Hype by Tim Allen. And I'm not going to talk about it too much because it's a little spicy and maybe slightly controversial. However, I thought it was a great counterpoint to a lot of the media representation of AI currently. And he talks about other technologies in the past and their boom and bust cycle and how AI might be falling into that same situation. So it's not anti AI altogether. It's more about how can we use this technology responsibly? How are developers going to use it in the future? And I recommend people watch it, even if you are very excited about I kind of go back and forth personally. I still thought this was a great talk to take the other side of the AI hype cycle.
I really like that talk as well. And I think my main takeaway is that, AI is still relatively new. And in terms of the applications that we're seeing coming up, there are still limitations and it should be seen as a tool. And whether we use it or not is still our choice. But yeah, we're definitely going to see more and more AI as we go. But yeah, let's see how it unfolds.
Well, enough about AI and robots. Let's talk about some of the more people centered talks at DjangoCon.
So the first talk that I want to shout out that really captures inclusivity and community is called Finding Purpose in Open Source Through Community Building by Abigail Dogby. So this is the first keynote on day one, and it really set the tone of inclusivity and community for the entire conference. Abigail is from Ghana, and she shared how she got involved in open source from attending her first Django Girls conference to becoming the first female mentor at Django Girls Ghana, and also sharing a lot of stories on how she helped people in the tech community in Ghana get involved in open source. She gave a lot of shout outs to people that she worked with and encouraged along the way, and she gave this really great analogy of how this was similar to how her dad would teach her to do chores and then make her do it. And she said that was similar to how she encouraged people. She would tell people to kind of go out of their comfort zone and help organize a conference or write a blog post. And I really like that because it really encapsulates this idea of community building. So overall, this talk really felt personal, and I think it's important for us to hear everyone's story. And what I liked about the talk as well was that she didn't only talk about the good things, she mentioned some of her challenges, like her visa getting denied twice when trying to attend DjangoCon Europe. And I think that's really important to spread awareness because we might take stuff like that for granted living in the US or the UK, and hearing other people's stories is a real testament to how committed people across the world are to represent Django and represent their community. And one thing I missed out on was asking her what my Ghanaian name would be based on the day that I was born. So that was really interesting, and I was dying to find out, but then Adam ambushed me with stickers, so I couldn't I couldn't
You're
I
going to
couldn't
blame
ask
me?
her.
That's not my fault.
I know. I'm sorry. So maybe
Yeah,
next time.
we should reach out to her, and because I would
Yeah.
like to know my name as well.
So Adam, speaking of inclusivity, I think you really like the Django Knots talk.
Yeah, there was a talk. It was called Navigating Django's Future, Django Not Space by Dawn Wages and Rachel Calhoun. And it started with Dawn and Rachel talking about how they were introduced to Django, their experience with Django Girls, and just participating in the community by giving conference talks and organizing events. Then at DjangoCon 2022, there was a panel discussion on the state of Django, and mentorship was mentioned. Afterwards, they started organizing a program with the goal to train new Django core contributors. Based on Djangonaut, you can tell that the program has a space theme, which I found very appropriate. So there are two navigators. They steer the ship, so to speak. There's 7 Djangonauts. They are the people getting mentored. And there are 4 captains, and they are mentoring. For this first cohort, they had over 200 applicants. And by the end, those Djangonauts had 4 PRs merged into Django. I don't know about you, Sangeeta, but I've been working with Django for 10 years. How many PRs have you had merged into Django?
A whopping 0.
Yeah, me too. 0.
Yeah,
exactly 0.
That's amazing. Can you imagine, like, you're new to Django and you just had a PR merge into the framework that you? Wow,
I mean, it's incredible.
That's just amazing.
These developers were able to ramp up so quickly, and I think it's a testament to the program itself that they have these PRs and they got merged, and they're going to continue to work on Django. And I love that they mention that this is a marathon and not a sprint. They are pursuing slow and steady progress to build a sustainable program for the long term. It was a great reminder of all the work that goes into creating a diverse and welcoming community in Django, and actively getting new contributors by reaching out directly to people and encouraging them to participate.
Yeah, I like that they emphasized the idea of active inclusion versus passive inclusion and just being proactive about reaching out to people, which is way more effective than waiting for people to say, hey, I'm interested in doing this thing. And this reminded me of how Abigail is really active in her community. And I think in general, this is something that we can really incorporate in our daily lives. Just be
For
active
sure.
about something and proactive. And yeah, it's a really great message. And I think in open source projects like Django, you need people to really push the project forward, and you
Yeah.
need people to be motivated enough to take action. And I think Django Nod is a great example of this.
So we saw a lot of great talks at DjangoCon, but we gave a lightning talk and it was all about stickers that you designed.
Oh my gosh, yes, that was really exciting and a little bit scary, but that was so much fun. I can't believe we did that.
It was super scary. It was so a lightning talk is under 5 minutes. Sangeeta and I signed up the day of, and we just decided we wanted to show off these Django stickers that Sangeeta designed and worked on, and we wanted to give them out to people. And we thought the best way to do that would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
to have a lightning talk. People would know about it, and so we wrote it real quick, and then we went up there and terrified. I was terrified.
I think I was the most nervous the minute before we went up. Like I was thinking, what am I doing? Like, am I really gonna go on stage right now and talk? And it was really nerve wracking. But once we both went up on stage, it felt okay.
So we just talked about the stickers, and then we said we would be sitting at a table after the talk. And afterwards, we were swarmed with people. Just
Yes.
people came up from everywhere. It was right before lunch. I think they were like
Yeah.
hangry, but it was fine because everyone
Yeah.
loves free stickers. And everyone was so appreciative. It was awesome.
Yeah, I really felt the community love when everyone came up, and I was just so happy. I'm like, oh my god, people really like them. Like they really want these stickers. So that felt so amazing to do, and it really felt nice to give back something to the community in the form of some cute, fun stickers.
Yeah, I mean, I think people really appreciated that the stickers were kind of fun and quirky and they hadn't seen them before. And we saw them everywhere. We saw them on water bottles and notepads, and it was awesome. People
Yeah,
really loved them. But I think we have some conference tips for people who have never been to a conference before,
like me,
or people who haven't been to a conference in a long time, like
like
me.
you.
So we should talk about that next.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, yeah, and I will. This is a caveat that I think a lot of things that we're going to talk about next are sort of personality dependent. So if you're more on the introverted side, which I would classify myself as, then maybe this will be helpful. If you're more on the extroverted side, then I can't give you any help. I have no
I think
tips for
just do
you.
the opposite then of what you say,
Yeah,
right?
I know personally that I get pretty drained quickly in new experiences and when there's new people and when I don't have like a friendly face that I can just go up to and not worry about like how to make small talk with. So my first tip is to, if you can, go to the conference with another person, at least one other person that you know that you can talk to and it won't be weird. For this conference, you were my other person. So thank you for going to the conference.
Thank you so much. Yes, you were definitely my other person as well. I went to the conference also with my brother, so I love that we all hung out together and we did stuff together. We prepped for our lightning talk together. Yeah, I agree. Go with someone that if you can, go with someone that you know, so it will be a more enjoyable experience and you can share stuff together.
If you know other people there, that's great. But I would say that even if you don't know anyone else at the conference, you should just feel okay with talking to people that you don't know. For example, I'll go at lunch and I'll just sit down at a table. I have a couple of questions that I just break the ice, and it's fine. Everyone's there to meet other people and to talk, and no one is going to yell at you that you sat down at the wrong table or anything.
This isn't Mean Girls, okay?
Yeah.
So
But some of the things that I usually try to ask about are you from this area? Do you use Django at work? Why are you here at this conference? What's your favorite talk? But any of these things will work. You basically just need to break the ice, and then usually it's fine, and everyone, is super friendly at least at DjangoCon. Everyone wants to meet other people.
I'll admit that I was a bit shy and I didn't really talk to as much people or visited a lot of the sponsor booths that as I would have liked. So I think my tip would be to just mentally prepare to come out of your shell. If you are a bit introverted, don't be scared to talk to people. I have some practical tips that I would like to share. So, one of them is definitely bring something that you can take notes, either a journal or a laptop, because you want to scribble something down, someone says something at a conference talk that really struck you and you want to, capture that. So, definitely take notes. Another thing, it's really cold in there, so wear layers. Make sure you're warm and definitely stay hydrated.
You should definitely stay hydrated. You should drink a lot of water. But you should also maybe eat the food at the conference. And I think you have some like really strong opinions about
Yes.
conference food.
Yes, so I am a fan of fried green tomatoes now. I'll say it.
Really?
Yes. I was really surprised. Like I was pleasantly surprised. I think it was really. I think I'm not sure if it's a southern, you know.
Yeah, it's a southern thing.
Okay, but I really
So
liked it.
you've never had them before.
Never, first time. It was a little like tart, like it was a little sour-ish, but it was interesting. I liked it. What
Yeah,
about
I think
you?
I want to. I think so. I've never had them before either. I think I want to try them again, but not at a conference from a hotel because I'm not sure if it was the best first experience,
Okay.
and maybe it gets better. That's my
Well,
hope.
I thought you secretly loved it. I mean, you looked happy after eating it.
I
No?
did eat a bunch of them, and then I was like, "Why am I eating this?" So, other than the regular conference meals, it's probably good to have a couple snacks like granola bars or a plastic bag of grapes if you're Sangita.
Yes.
Because you just never know when you get real hungry and you don't want to leave a talk in the middle of it.
We shared so many things that we loved about this conference, but is there anything that you would have liked to see different?
Yeah, I wish it was just a little bit warmer in
Okay.
the conference halls.
Okay.
I think it all went pretty well. Did you have any feedback or anything that you were thinking about?
I mean, I just have one minor feedback is that I think as a first timer, right, it would have been helpful, I think, if there was like a list of talks for that day posted somewhere in the hallway, or maybe outside of each ballroom, there was a sign saying like what talks were going to be hosted there and what times. Because
Yeah,
I kept I found myself looking at my phone a lot, trying to see what talk and what ballroom was next.
yeah, that's a good point. I had my phone out a lot and scrolling around a lot, and yeah, I think having a giant sign somewhere would have been useful. That's a good
Yeah,
call out.
yeah. Thanks. Okay, so I think this wraps up our DjangoCon episode. Wow. Is there anything else you would like to add, or before we move on to the next segment?
No, but this is the Django Brew podcast, right? We
It
should talk
is.
about coffee or something related to coffee. So you drink a lot of coffee, right?
I do, yes.
And so how many cups of coffee do you normally drink a day?
I normally drink, I would say, like 4 to 6 cups of coffee a
Four
day.
to six.
It's a range. Yep, it's definitely a range.
That's a lot. There's a lot of coffee. Do you sleep ever? Like, are you ever able to fall asleep?
Yes. Well, I tell myself that coffee doesn't affect me, but my sleep schedule would say otherwise. So I think there is some truth there, but
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
I don't ever finish a cup. I always refill my coffee. So I think, 4 to 6 might probably be like 3 to 5, I would say.
Hmm. Still still seems like a
Still a
lot.
lot.
Yeah. So every day you have coffee.
Yeah, every day. I
Okay.
like coffee and I'm an avid coffee drinker. So, and I think coffee definitely helps me write code and I need it. I like it. I like it. I don't need it, but I like it.
So how do you make your coffee?
Well, I make my coffee plain black, no sugar, no cream. Or at night, I make myself a nice latte with oat milk and some brown sugar. So it's either, in my mind, it's like plain, like Oppenheimer, or like Barbie. So like all like with all the, cream and sugar, like Barbie. So it's like, so right now I'm having Oppenheimer coffee right now.
But where's the Barbenheimer? It's like the
I
middle of
d-
the day is you don't ever do that.
Probably. And yeah, that's clever. I don't know. Maybe I should do that.
So how do you make your coffee? Is it just like in a regular coffee maker, or do you have something special, or you...
I just have a regular coffee maker. I did have an espresso machine, but a cappuccino machine.
Ooh, fancy.
But it stopped working. Like, and I think there was an air bubble, and then I could figure it out. Someone was telling me to like blow air into like one of the parts of the machine, and I was like, I'm not doing that. And I tried another way, and we just threw it out. What about you?
I have a Bonavita Connoisseur coffee
Wow.
maker. It's my favorite coffee maker. I've had two of them. Their claim to fame is that it gets the water hot before it starts putting it on the grounds. So it's at the correct temperature for, like if you do a pour over, that's sort of how you do it.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be the same as that. And I love it. And then there's a thermos. So it keeps the coffee super hot. And there's no hot plate or anything underneath, but it's all insulated and it works great. Well, I think that's enough coffee talk for the Django Brew podcast.
Yeah, I think we talked enough about coffee for the entire season 1 of the Django Brew podcast.
I think you're right.
Okay. Well, yeah, so I think next episode, yes, we're going to talk about forums, everything Django forums. We're going to be sharing some of the things we love about forums, some of the pain points and gotchas that we experienced when using them, and hopefully provide some useful tips, because they can be a little confusing and there's more than meets the eye for sure. So we're hoping to shed some light on that.
Yeah, they're definitely a little tricky.
So I think that wraps up this episode, our DjangoCon edition. I hope you all enjoy listening to our thoughts on all the talks and really enjoyed some of the conference tips that we gave. Thank you all for listening, and see you all in the next one. Bye!
Bye!
I have Adam.
We are gonna have to redo this intro.
Okay, clap. We are devs and we start counting from 0.
This is why I have a script. Yeah, you start and then maybe we'll have a real conversation. I'm not gonna read code on a podcast. asyncio.create_task. No. Shoot. Okay, hold on 1 second. I'm gonna restart. Okay. Robots are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna take over my job eventually. Well, that's enough about robots. Less robot-y things. Got my coffee. I'm good. This is being recorded. Very important.
Do you want to hit record now?
It's recording.
Oh, wait. Adam, how are you? And then Django Unicorn.
What is Django Unicorn? Without needing something like salary. Salary. This is one long sentence. That or blah 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 blah. Mentors? Mentors. They are mentoring. Mento.
Dementor.
Dementors. All right, sorry, I messed that up. You gotta go again.
I'm a serious podcaster. Cut! Stop recording!